Hey guys, Future Rachel here. So I've already filmed this video, but I wanted to make a very specific disclaimer before I continue with the story. If you want to skip this disclaimer, you can jump to the timestamp that is on the screen now. However, I do suggest listening to the disclaimer if you plan to form an overall opinion about the company once this is done. The disclaimer will give you the context and help you understand the story fully. It is a multi-part disclaimer, but again, if you just want to skip, just go to the timestamp that is on the screen now. I will be reading it, and it is in multiple parts. The first part is that they got new owners less than a year ago. All the stories that I heard of people having bad experiences and everything were from before they changed owners. And the new owners used to be franchise owners with the company and saw from the inside what they needed to change. They felt unsupported by the franchise and noticed the company cared more about quantity than they did quality. So they bought the company and worked from the inside to change it. They've been implementing new training and education since they bought the company. However, Christian has been with the company longer than the new owners have been in leadership, because if you go and look at his social media, you can see that he's posted for Garage Kings since 2018. And knowing this about the company makes me trust them a lot more overall and believe that they'll be successful in implementing these changes. It also makes me feel more confident that they didn't just reach out to me because I have a TikTok platform, because a lot of people had pointed that out in my TikToks, and understandably so. So yeah, that just makes me feel better about, their intentions in the first place. Part 2 of the disclaimer, the story is about one franchise owner, and that is it. This is not in regards to any other franchise owners through Garage Kings or the company as a whole. As you'll see in these videos, the company overall has gone above and beyond remedying this situation. Christian of Garage Kings Nashville never reached out or acknowledged the situation after the last phone call, but the corporate and the company as a whole is fixing the situation. So I want to make it very clear that the decisions of one business owner should not affect anyone else. This should not affect any other franchise owners with the company or corporate. I'm putting the definition of a franchise on the screen just in case you don't know how a franchise works, because it's a little different than a corporation would be. And it just basically means that a franchise owner is going to have more freedom to make business and customer service decisions as they see fit. They're not going to be micromanaged by, a boss or anything like that. They're a business owner. And so that is kind of how this situation happened. In part 3 of the disclaimer, everything I'm telling you is 100% true. I have receipts, screenshots, recordings, etc. for almost everything that has happened here. So if I forget anything or forget to share anything in this video and someone has a question about it, just ask and I'll be willing to discuss it, obviously. In part 4 of the disclaimer, in regards to recording, I live in Tennessee and it's a one-party consent state, and that basically just means that I can record as long as one person consents to the recording, and that person can be the one recording. So all my recordings are legal and within my rights, especially within my own home, for whatever reason I see fit, but safety reasons especially. So I just wanted to go ahead and address that I am allowed to record. So. And part 5 of the disclaimer, is it part 5? I actually don't know. I kind of lost count, to be honest, but I will not be sharing any personal information about anyone in this video. Any names I use are public record. If you Google this company, you'll find the business owners' names. I'll be censoring any visual image of the people involved. Obviously, the only person that, it really is Christian. Obviously, I will not be showing any kind of likeness, and that will be censored. Part something like 6 or something like that, last part, whatever, of the disclaimer. The company is aware that I'm making these videos. I've been very transparent about my intentions and opinions since the beginning. We've developed a mutual trust, which makes me respect them even more. The president of the company never even asked me to make a video, or asked me not to make a video. He didn't ask me to take anything down. I just told him what I was trying to do and reassured him that I would do everything in my power to separate the experience with one business owner so as not to negatively affect the rest of the owners or the company. And so that's what I'm trying to do with this multi-part disclaimer. And with all of that being said, let's get into the video. When I walked in, I didn't notice any problems. Obviously, with that kind of pattern, you're not really going to notice much. As I was walking, one of the first things I noticed was all around the edges of the room, there were just piles and piles of flaking. just lots of piles, almost like it just was extra that was just kind of pushed into the wall, like it wouldn't be noticed or something. And then when I went to the stairs were the exact same way, except it was all over. It was on all the creases where the vertical and horizontal surfaces meet. There were even parts sticking out like knives. I was really confused by that. I didn't know what that was or why that was happening, but there were literal pieces sticking straight out. There were some pieces sticking straight up on the stairs as well. But the first thing I noticed was like little piles of, like a couple little piles of flaking. So I texted him about that. I texted him this picture and I said, hey Christian, didn't want to bother you on a Sunday, so feel free to ignore till you're able. I just know my brain will forget this if I don't ask. On the stairs, it looks like there's some parts that are built up with the flakes or uneven. I don't know if I'm explaining it right, so I'll add a picture. I wasn't sure if this was normal since it's so rough and could flake off. Since it's a high traffic area, I just wanted to make sure I don't get the flakes coming off, especially because my cats will eat it, LOL. Again, this is like punch myself in the face, you know what I mean? I don't even know if you can see it in the picture or what I'm talking about, but I just didn't know if that was normal or not. I knew it wasn't normal. I knew that that wasn't okay, that that was happening. But again, I was diverting to the professional, trying to be nice, whatever. And I should have been more assertive. Like, I understand that. However, in this moment, he could have obviously been honest and said, yeah, I'm not quite sure about, like, it shouldn't be like that. So he responded and said, I know exactly what you're talking about. It is completely normal when you have a vertical surface meeting the floor. It should be hard enough to not worry about the cats. I can come take a look sometime next week if you want me to. I did not like this response because it should be hard enough to not worry about the cats. Basically what he was saying was all these piles of flaking or the pieces sticking out or whatever, it was fine that they existed as long as they're hard enough to not flake off. But during this conversation, I was actually already finding more parts that were like that and pieces were flaking off because it was so much. I said, yeah, if you don't mind, just in case it needs to be evened out or something. And I'm so sorry about being so late. I ended up with a new foster kitten, so things are hectic right now. Thanks for responding, though. You didn't have to on a Sunday. Punched myself in the face, Rachel. That's whenever I got Willow, so if you already follow me for kittens, you remember Willow. But I was dealing with a lot with her because she wasn't in the best shape whenever I got her. So I couldn't just fly by the seat of my pants for the entire week and not plan anything at this point, you know? He said, not a problem, I'll text you when I can get by. We have a job today and Wednesday, but I will come on another day. In this moment, I wish I had been more assertive and said, okay, but we need to pick this day or we need to pick a specific time because I need to schedule things. And instead, I was just being too nice again and too passive. And it really made it kind of seem like it wasn't a priority, kind of, but I didn't communicate that like I should have. I said, okay, yeah, if you could just let me know whenever you find out because scheduling things right now is hectic, thank you. And he said, yes, ma'am. And I asked if the floor was okay to be on, and he said, yes. So the next day I took Willow to the vet. We determined that it was not ringworm, that she more than likely had got stuck in a car and a tire had kind of run over her and also burned her. So she had burn marks on different parts of her body. So she wasn't contagious in the sense of like ringworm or anything like that, but obviously she was still quarantined from any other animals. I'm filming the garage video.
Oh.
Yeah. It's a lot.
I'm just really in the mood for waffles.
I love you. I love you too, babe. And I also didn't tell him every single thing that needed to be fixed in that room because the more I looked at it, the more issues I saw in it. If you watched my TikToks about it, you'll know what I'm talking about. So I sent some videos to my best friends to show them the parts that were sticking out, and these were some of the parts that stuck out and actually cut both me and my son. I was actually able to peel off parts because it was flaking off so much, but then it was so uneven that there were some really smooth parts, and then I poked myself on this part right next to it. So it was just really uneven, and I was just showing them that. And then this just shows that it actually poked through some packages, and that's how sharp it was. And then here's some of the linoleum that they left, but it's only against one wall. It's actually the whole room, but this is just part of it. I found the linoleum that was still all there, and I didn't really understand why that was there. So I just kind of decided that I was going to ask him about this stuff in person because it would have been a lot to text, and I didn't really want to bombard him with all of it at once. I just decided that when he came to look at the spot that I would just show him like, hey, look at all this stuff going on. What can we do to fix all of this? So I texted him on Monday evening and I said, my week is filling up because of this other kitten and my son just scratched himself on one of the parts that are poking out. So do you think you could come look at this sometime on Thursday? I should be here all day. My son had tried to use the stairs, and when he had walked on it, he had stepped on basically something sticking sharp out of it. and cut himself. I had already cut myself on the side of it as well with the part sticking out of the side. So I needed him to understand that this was a little more serious than just one little pile of flaking, basically. He said, yeah, I should be able to make that work. And I said, okay, awesome, thanks. Another one of those situations where I wished that we had set a very specific time. So I didn't hear from him again. On Wednesday, I texted him, I said, hi, Christian, could you tell me what time you're able to come tomorrow? And he said, yes, ma'am, my last appointment is at 1, and then I should be on the way. So I told him that I had an appointment for that afternoon and I couldn't do it. And he said, do you want to leave the door unlocked and lock the door going into the house, or do you want me to come out Friday? And that triggered something in my brain to realize that he genuinely thought that he was going to come in and fix that one little spot and the whole floor was going to be done and fixed. So, because I hadn't told him about all the other stuff. I said, no, I think I need to be there to show you the problems that need fixed because there are a few different spots. Friday will have to work. And he said, okay, we'll do that. And I said, okay, what time? And he said, it would still be afternoon. Do you see how it's like a constant vague back and forth of like, it'll be around this time, or maybe I can come by on this day or whatever. It was kind of starting to irritate me. And I said, that's fine. I just need to know a time so I can plan. And he said, let's plan on 1. And I said, okay, great. It's in my calendar. See you then. I wanted to make sure he knew that it was in my calendar as a specific time. Like, this is an appointment, you know? So Friday comes, I texted him that morning to confirm that he would be there at 1 that day. This is the first time I've done something like that where I would confirm that he was coming at that specific time because of the communication issue that we were having. He said yes. At 12:45, he said, I'm running a little behind, but I'm on the way to you. I'm in a place where he was about, the place that he said he was at was about 30 to 45, maybe even 45 minutes away from me. That would have put him being here about 5 minutes after he said he was going to be here. So I thought that's no big deal at all. So I'm thinking he's going to be here 5 to 10 minutes after, and he's not. He actually texted me at 1:45, so 45 minutes late instead of 5 minutes late. And he said, I'm here, I'm in the driveway, am I in the way? Again, I knew that it was because he thought he was coming in to just fix that one little part, and that was it. So I went out to meet him to bring him inside, and I started recording so that I could make sure that I remembered what we talked about, because we clearly had some kind of communication barrier where we would talk about things, but then he would forget, or it wouldn't, you know, we weren't connecting on certain things. So I wanted to make sure that I had proof of what we talked about so that I could refer back to it. And this is the video. I'm actually gonna watch it while it's on the screen here so that I can kind of address certain things, because I obviously don't fully remember every little thing that was talked about. So yeah, so that's this.
No, you're fine. You're good. No, you're fine. I don't need to go anywhere.
Okay.
No worries.
It shouldn't take too long.
I don't know if you could hear that, but he said it shouldn't take too long.
You might be surprised.
Okay, let's talk about
Okay, so I only showed you one little part of it.
Yeah.
But the more that, you know, yeah, it's like all of it.
Yeah.
Like the more that I tried to clean this room and kind of get it, you know, whatever, the more spots I found. Like this part I thought was good, and there are parts of it that are good, but then there's like little parts that are literally like stab us. Like I've cut myself on certain parts of it, and it's just kind of scattered like all throughout. And then like the edges, it's looking like we should have taken the baseboards off.
I just want to point out that that's kind of funny to me because, you know, my normal self, I would have said, we should have taken the baseboards off. Like, that's definitely what we should have done. But instead, I'm like, it's looking like we should have taken, like...
to get all the way underneath.
Because, like, this is, like, linoleum that's still here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that should have come out.
I mean, if we take the base.
So I pointed out the linoleum on the side that I showed you guys in the first video. He doesn't fully acknowledge it. Like I just said, there's linoleum here that needs to come out, you know? And he says, yeah. But then, you know, I talk about how it needs to come out and he just automatically goes to like solution mode. Now this is how he handles pretty much the majority of our conversation. I will point out an issue that he needs to take accountability and responsibility for, and he'll just automatically say, okay, well, this is what we can do. And here's the thing, I'm a solutions person. If someone's gonna go straight to finding the solution and trying to fix it, I'm probably going to just veer towards that anyway. Do I think he still needs to admit, yeah, we messed up, we should have taken that out, yeah. But in the moment, again, picking my battles, I felt like if we were gonna fix it, then that was the most important part. Looking back, I would have been like, yeah, but why did you guys leave that, you know?
I mean, if we take the baseboards off, we can get all that out.
Yeah.
But there's no way, like, I cut all, like, as far as I could.
No, I understand. I did ask you, though, if we needed to take the baseboards off, and you told me that we didn't need to, but, I mean...
But if you want to, we can redo...
I mean...
Like him saying, if you want to take the baseboards off, like, we'd had multiple conversations about this, and you told me they didn't need to come off, so I'm a little confused as to why we're sitting here acting like it was my choice to not take the baseboards off. Because you told me you could work to the wall. You know, I have the text messages saying that you said you could work to the wall. So he was basically saying that they couldn't get it all because of the baseboards.
We can redo...
we have to. Yeah. That's not, like, I was gonna, because my original goal was just leave the baseboards, and then I was gonna have my contractor put a quarter round, which would have been fine. But that's not possible with what's going on here. So
that's another thing a lot of people are asking me about. The people in the video that were like judging me for stuff were saying that I was complaining about things that didn't even matter because I could just put a quarter round or the baseboards would cover that linoleum that was sticking out. But you can see in the videos that the linoleum is sticking out of the wall, like straight out. Regardless of the parts that are sticking straight out, there are parts that he actually put the stuff on top of it. So instead of, you know, pulling it off of the floor, he basically fused it to the floor. So I wouldn't be able to put baseboards down there even if I tried, because it's completely uneven for anything to like go down to. And I can't put a quarter round there either. There's nothing for the quarter round to attach to at that point.
These are just the main things that I'm kind of just giving you an overview. And then this thing, like, this is still here, which is a hazard. And this whole thing should have come out. And I cut myself on this too whenever I was trying to clean it.
Oh yeah, that's where your carpet was.
Yeah, that should have come off.
So if you take this off, even if you go our flooring all the way up to the edge, I think you still need a transition.
I would need a transition, yes, but that's not a transition.
No.
So that was...
And we had talked about a transition before too, so I was really confused why we were having this conversation again.
You know, like that was kind of because that's a hazard. Basically, you know what I wanted out of the floor. I just want it to be functional, easy to clean, whatever. And right now that's not the case. Like okay, so if you feel right here, that's great, right? Like that's really smooth. But then there's like parts that are
This is normal right here.
Yeah, so I don't like that though. Like,
so the part that he's talking about is normal is the part that I'm talking about where when I say smooth, I mean the orange peel texture. The part that he's talking about is where it's almost like jagged, I guess is the best way to explain it. It's not, it's not that every single part is sticking straight up, but it's almost like the clear coating isn't even there. It is there, but it's almost like it's not because there's so many flakes on top of flakes that it's jagged, if that makes sense. He's saying that that's the part that's normal. That's not what I felt in the sample. When he had me feel samples, they felt more orange peel kind of texture, maybe more bumpy than that, but there definitely wasn't any jagged edges. So that's why I just flat out said, I don't like that, because I don't know how else to explain to him that that's not what we had discussed.
Even if some of it's okay, like the texture's okay.
So
but it keeps getting stuck on my mop. You know what I mean? Like.
And I just want to say I'm really sorry for how annoying my dog is in this video. Thankfully, it's just kind of background noise, but I have to tune him out because he will just keep screaming.
You're fine. So let's think about this. So if you take the baseboards off, we get all that linoleum cut out. We need to go to Lowe's and use some kind of transition.
Right. And that part, I was okay with, like, you know, the transition, baseboards, all that stuff. My contractor could do certain parts of that.
Well, I'm just thinking, if you want, if you're wanting this kind of texture.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't looking for anything specific to begin with. It just seems that if we are going to have to, like, even stuff out, that would be the easiest.
Okay, so this is super.
So what I mean by that is that he's telling me if you're wanting this particular texture, if you want a texture that is exactly like this is what we're going to have to do. And I'm trying to explain to him, I'm not looking for a particular texture because I never even knew that this floor existed to begin with. I just want something that's easy to clean, because when I had gone in there to get the room ready for Willow while she was still in my bathroom, I Swiffered on everything to try to get the extra dust and everything before I really went in and scrubbed everything. And even just Swiffering, my Swiffer got stuck constantly. It like pulled the little pad thing off of it because it was getting stuck on so many parts. That's what I was trying to explain to him, that it was uneven, that I didn't know what I was going to step on. I didn't know what I was going to clean over. It wasn't about the texture. I kept trying to explain that to him, that it wasn't about the texture. The texture was not the issue. I didn't need it to be like completely smooth or anything. But smooth, I think, was the only word that I could think of to really describe what I needed. Okay. But smooth was really the only thing that I could think of to describe what I needed. If I was going to say smooth or rough, obviously smooth was the option that I would choose if I have to choose between the two, if that makes sense.
Thick, right? So normally, this is the texture you get.
Yeah.
So that's your normal texture.
Right.
So what you would have to do is, I would say we need to plan a day.
Of course, yeah.
That we can clean it out again. And then let's just do another clear coat on the whole thing.
Because I know that the demo part of it was a nightmare. Did that happen here?
Yeah. It's been a week.
So he's talking about coming in and putting a clear coat over everything again. We haven't really gotten to the point of me suggesting that he grind everything again, but we've gotten to the point where he is agreeing that something needs to go over it, I guess, because that's his solution to all the parts that are super rough and snagging on things.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, I know it's bad. It was bad. So I know that was like the biggest, worst part of all of it.
How long can you live with it? We leave for Florida tomorrow.
Okay, when will you be back, do you think?
It's a week.
Or when will you be able to work again, is what I mean.
Once I get back.
Yeah.
Like I can do clear coat by myself. Like in between quotes and stuff.
Right.
So,
when he said that he could do clear coat by himself, I think that was when I realized I needed to reiterate that it needs to be smooth, like evened out, not smoothed out. Clearly that wasn't the right word, but evened out, like everything needed to be grinded again.
Yeah, I just think...
But if you can get these off.
Yeah.
This off.
I can't get that off.
He's basically saying if you can get the baseboards off, because in the beginning it started with him. He would take the baseboards off if they needed to come off, but then he said they didn't need to come off. Now it was, if you can take the baseboards off and this, talking about the carpet strip, which I couldn't get the carpet strip off at all because it was fused to the floor now, just like the other parts of the linoleum.
I do not know how I'm going to get that off.
I can do it, but it's not going to look pretty.
What do you mean?
So when you pull these, they have caught all over.
Yeah.
So you have to take your razor blade, you go all the way around.
Of course, yeah.
Well, what happens, and this happened in my house, when you pull them, everywhere they attached, sometimes
So basically he goes in to explain to me how to take baseboards off. I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't really need that, and if I needed help I would ask someone to help me. I'm not going to just go in and like rip baseboards off my wall without doing research or getting someone more experienced to help me do it. And at this point I was more than fine with him not doing it, because it seemed like he was taking on too much. He was putting way too much on his plate on his own, to the point where he was forgetting the things we were talking about. Things were getting rushed. It was just too much. So I was like, it's fine, I'll get the baseboards off, but this carpet strip, you're going to have to get that off, because you're going to have to grind up to it or something, because that clear coat has it stuck to the floor. he wasn't the one that was going to be doing the baseboards, clearly. You know, it had started out with him doing all these things, and now it was kind of trickling down to like, just get the floor right, was how I kind of felt about it. I didn't need him to explain to me how to take baseboards off. I didn't need him to explain to me what size baseboards I need. I will figure all that out with someone else on my own, whatever. I just need the floor done properly. If I need to take the baseboards off, I will get someone to help me take the baseboards off. I will get those off. But I need us to have an understanding as to how this floor is going to be fixed.
But I have no issue with that. I have no problem with like doing whatever we need to do to get it like, just get the floor, and like the steps too obviously are a concern, like a big concern. Cause
Yeah, I can
really,
take
really rough.
I can take a sander tone. Here's the thing about steps.
Yeah.
So this is your normal texture.
Yeah.
I've been using a different clear coat, so this is why you get this thicker stuff. And that's, I like this clear coat.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah, definitely.
the steps, you never get like a pure, like, because this is just sitting, right? So
Yeah,
you think
of
about
course.
liquid, it's just sitting there, right?
Yeah.
So on the steps, it's vertical. So
And that's fine.
it doesn't
yeah.
really sit there. But we can get it sanded down just to make sure the edges are
I mean, I need
softer.
I need it to be like, it's not like it needs to be perfect,
But like
but
softer.
there's like stuff like coming off of it, and like, but I mean, I am concerned about like, there's parts that like, the texture itself wasn't an issue at first. It's just whenever, and I can't even like, I don't even know where to find the spots because they're
like
scattered.
So this right here,
Uh-huh.
see how smooth that is?
Yeah, mm-hmm.
Some customers will complain about that because
Oh, no, I
it's
wouldn't.
too smooth.
So that part where he's saying, see how smooth this is? That was like the orange peel texture I was talking about. I have realized now, after talking to the guy that specializes more in interior floors for Garage Kings that's going to come do this floor tomorrow, I have realized that him saying that most customers would complain about that just reiterates the idea that Christian does not do interior floors. I don't know how many interior floors he's done, but it's very clear that that's not something that he is well versed in, and that's basically what the guy that's coming to do my floor said as well, is that a lot of the people that do this obviously do garage. It's called Garage Kings for a reason. So when I told this guy, this is kind of what they told me about the training that they're going to be hopefully implementing, is they really need to reiterate and educate their franchisees on the difference between interior and exterior floors. If you aren't used to doing interior floors, that could cause some problems because you need to understand the difference and what your customer's going for. That's why I constantly told him what my goal was for the floor and what I was looking for and what the room was going to be used for. And these are all questions that the guy that's coming to do my floor now actually asked me without me having to prompt those questions at all. So basically there are little signs throughout this entire situation that it makes it so obvious that he got in over his head and thought that he could just take the job. But saying that customers would complain about that texture makes sense if all your customers are exterior customers. My floor is for an office, so approaching my floor the same that you would approach an exterior floor obviously doesn't work exactly the same.
No. I honestly, like, the only reason the smoother the better for me is because it's easier to clean it. And that's all I want, you know what I mean?
And you're not having cars and stuff in here.
Exactly. That's really my main thing is, like, I didn't even mean to have a kitten in here. That was an accident.
So
She's staying in there, okay.
I would say let's plan a day to where I basically come back, spend a day with you, sand the stairs down, get all like the little spots down, and then just re-clear the whole thing.
Yeah, so,
Because we could get it to this texture if we throw another gallon or
yeah, because I was
so in
going
it.
to ask you, does this need...
I missed that part in the very beginning. I just now noticed where he said we can get that to this texture if we throw another gallon of the clear coat on top. You'll see later on that he definitely did that, and it did not fix it. It made things a lot worse, but I knew in this conversation that he was trying to just throw clear coat on top like a Band-Aid, And I don't know if it's because he was trying to cut corners, this is just my opinion, or if it was because he didn't know any other solution. But yeah, when he said, if we throw another gallon of the clear coat on top, I didn't notice that until just now.
Need to be sanded down? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you're not going to get 100% this all the way across unless you put an epoxy on top of it. Which, with what you're doing out here, I would rather.
So I said, does this need to be sanded down? I was talking about the other parts that were rough, like catching my mop. Again, punch myself in the face, Rachel. I would have gone back and been like, this needs to be sanded down as well. The whole thing needs to be grinded. At this point, we're kind of going in circles and going back and forth because I'm trying to convince him that he needs to regrind the entire floor because it's so uneven. There are so many parts that are just, some parts are literally like glass, like completely smooth. I didn't ask for that. I didn't want that. Other parts are so rough that it's snagging, like cutting us, you know? So I kept trying to say, like, it would make so much more sense if you just regrind the entire thing and then recoat it. That's what I kept trying to say. That's why I said, does this need to be resanded? Does this need to be sanded too? And he said no. And I said, are you sure? Because clearly that's what I want. And you guys can tell me if I'm thinking this correctly or not. But he said that you're never going to get that texture, the like the orange peel, like smoother texture, without throwing epoxy on top. The polyaspartic coating can't do that. I don't really understand that. The guy that's coming to do my floor tomorrow is achieving the texture that I wanted in the first place without using the epoxy. So that's clearly not true. And to me, just logically, I was thinking, well, if you grind everything down again and you actually even it out where some parts aren't super smooth and some parts aren't super rough, and then you put the clear coat on top, why would that not be able to be achieved at that point? I didn't really understand that, but he was telling me that that's impossible.
Do not do epoxy.
Why is that?
Just because, like, say a cat pees on the floor or whatever, epoxy doesn't take to chemicals.
Okay, so you said epoxy does not do well with chemicals, right?
No.
Okay, but this stuff does.
Yes.
Okay.
So you can pour anything. I mean, you can pour gasoline on here for 30 days.
Cool, that's
and
crazy.
It will not hurt it.
Wow.
I'm not going to say anything about what epoxy can handle and what polyaspartic can handle. I don't know enough about it. I'm not the expert. I know I had a lot of other people that do this kind of work that were commenting, so maybe you guys can kind of weigh in on how that works.
So.
Yeah, okay. Obviously, like I told you, I just want it to be functional. I don't want it to be obviously this is easiest to clean. Yes. So whatever the smoother, the better is best.
That is what I defaulted to. The smoother, the better, because I was not getting through to him. I'm going to be honest. Like, I felt like I was not getting through to him. I felt like I was trying to explain what I needed and what needed to happen. He was telling me that we could do these things, but that it would never happen, that it was impossible, but this was exactly what I had purchased to begin with from the initial consultation. So I just defaulted to the smoother the better. Like, smooth it out as much as you can, because I felt like that was the only way that I was going to be able to explain what I was trying to get at, even if it wasn't exactly what I wanted. I'm sorry if you can hear the yard guy, but
We'll get it as smooth as we can.
Okay.
The steps, though, so realistically, the top part of your steps, like where you stand on, where it can actually hold the product, those will be the smoothest.
Right, of course.
The sides aren't going to be the smoothest.
Yeah.
But unlike the transitions from like the edges, like where it rolls over,
yeah.
Like if there's any edges over there that need to be sanded, we can do that.
This whole thing needs to be done. All of this. And look, I covered this up and it pierced through these bags. But this is a lot.
That's some of your old concrete, though.
It still needs to be, evened out,
I can try to knock it down as much as I
So basically at this point, he's mansplaining to me how vertical and horizontal surfaces work. So we went over to the stairs so I could show him what I meant, and we went over there and you just do this and it just scratches your hand up. There were pieces sticking out. And he says that that's my old concrete. And I say, yeah, but it still should have been sanded down. The concrete needed to be evened out. There were parts that needed to be patched. If there were, issues like that, why was that not done before the coating was put on? Because he's basically telling me that the coating adhered to what was there, understandably. However, there were parts that needed to be fixed, and he didn't do that. He just poured the stuff on top and expected it to be fine. And on top of that, he used so much that it was completely jagged. So
I can. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
What do you mean by as much as you can?
So like when we took these steps, the concrete had like
Right. Yeah.
unevens.
Right.
So this, and I don't remember. I've done probably 5 garages since I did yours.
Right.
But I remember the sides of the concrete having like these weird little things.
Right.
So
I just want to point out that I think it's funny that he said, I don't remember, because I've probably done about 5 garages since I've done yours. And I just think that's really funny because this one should have been so memorable with how bad the demo was. Like, he was talking about how bad it was and that he still remembered how bad the demo was. So I just think it's really funny for him to be like, yeah, I don't know, because I've done like 5 garages since yours.
that might be concrete.
But wouldn't that need to be evened out before that stuff's put on?
On the sides, there's not much you can do. You sand
You can't
it.
sand it down?
Yeah, you sand it the best you can, but we'll get the big chunks off.
So this part, I was getting kind of frustrated at this point because he's saying like there's nothing you can do about it being uneven. And I knew that that wasn't true, because if there's cracks or something, you have to fill those and patch it and stuff. Like, I wasn't looking for a perfectly sculpted set of stairs. I just knew there would not be knives sticking off of it. I felt like that was a pretty reasonable request. And he's saying that they'll get the biggest chunks off that they can. But it just doesn't make sense to me, because if it's concrete, if you're telling me that was concrete, like, you're telling me that there's like knife shapes sticking off of the stairs and that's concrete, but you can't cut that off. So, because he's saying, you know, there's not much you can do on the sides of the stairs. Why? How's that any different than the surface? If there's a crack in the surface, don't you fill it the same way? I don't know. Am I missing something?
Okay, well, that's still concerning to me, because, like...
This part, though, that has clear coat on it.
Right.
Well, we can put another coat on there. But this, just so you know, these parts are going to be rough. This can be knocked down. I can knock that down probably right now. But this part's going to be not as smooth as this part. This part's going to be smooth.
I mean, why? Okay, I guess I'm not understanding, why can't we sand it? Like, why can't it be like grinded down or whatever to be not rough?
We'll go as far as we can.
Like, that's what I'm asking. Like, why would it not be possible for this to not be rough?
Because I'm just saying this piece right here, I think, is concrete.
Yeah, and so that's why I'm asking, why is that not able to be grinded down?
It can be. We're just going to have to reapply everything.
That's why I'm asking. Like, because I'm saying, like, this being rough like this is not going to work. Like, even with like another clear coat on top, if it's still too rough, like like all of this is like...
So you're going to get this part right here is going to be an issue.
Yeah.
Forever. Like, you never get a perfect...
But there was just some kind of disconnect. Like, we weren't meeting in the middle, and I didn't understand what I needed to say or do to make that happen. Because I would ask what I felt like was a very reasonable question and say, okay, well, can we just... Basically, there's like, it's rough because there's flakes that are sticking out, right? Or there's too many flakes on top of each other. So if you grind that down, it will get rid of that extra surface, you know, and then you could put the clear coat on top and it won't be sticking out rough anymore. It'll just be that texture. I felt like that's what I was saying without literally saying that, which it seems like I should have tried that, like saying that exactly. But in the moment, I didn't think to break it down like that. I also kind of felt like it was common sense with what I was explaining. I'm sorry, my dog's being kind of annoying. So I was just like, I didn't want to give up on what I was saying because I had already... Stop. I didn't want to give up on what I was saying because I'd already been so passive up to this point and not been getting what I needed. So I was hoping that we could, even if we had to run around in circles for a while, we would eventually come to the same conclusion, you know?
I'm just saying this piece right here, I think, is concrete.
Like when I said that I needed it to not be rough, as in what I just explained. And then he said, yeah, I'm just saying that this piece is concrete. Like a very specific piece that was sticking off that I needed him to cut off and sand down or whatever. He jumped to that. That had nothing to do with what I was talking about. Like I was talking about like overall it's too rough. And you're saying, oh, well, this piece is concrete. And then I point out, okay, well, can't you cut that off? And he's like, yeah, we can cut it off. Then why did you even bring that up? What does that have to do with the rough surface? I don't understand.
Yeah, and so that's why I'm asking, why is that not able to be grinded down?
It can be. We're just gonna have to reapply everything.
And he says, it can be. We're just going to have to reapply everything. But isn't that what he just suggested? He just suggested to reapply everything. So wasn't that what he was going to do anyway? I don't understand why we're even discussing that part. What does it have to do with anything?
Like this is not going to work. Like even with like another clear coat on top, if it's still too rough, like that's, I mean, like all of this is like.
So you're gonna get this part right here. Is gonna be an issue.
Yeah.
Forever. Like you never get a perfect seam. But
well, it doesn't need to be perfect.
We'll pour enough clear coat that hopefully it'll smooth it out. You know what I mean? As long as it smooths out.
Yeah, so that's where he's talking about, like, he's completely veered us off of the surface again. I keep bringing us back to it, but then he keeps veering us off and going somewhere else. And that's why he says, you know, you'll never get a perfect seam, as in, like, you can't get the corner because it's a vertical surface meeting a horizontal surface, saying that it's always going to be an issue and it's going to be impossible to make that into a corner. I also want to point out something I think is kind of funny, is that he thought he was coming to my house to fix that one little clump that was in a seam, like in the little corner area. He said he was gonna take a tool, which did he talk about this yet? I don't know. He thought he was gonna carve that out and make it into an angle. So why is he telling me that that's impossible, that it's always gonna be a problem, when he was planning on doing that in one spot already?
That's my thing, is like, I understand, like, even if this is concrete though, it should still be evened out first.
Yeah, we'll take a sander too.
See, and I said, even if this is concrete, it needs to be evened out. Like, I'm bringing us back to it again, saying this has to be evened out. He says, yeah, we'll take a sander to it. Why didn't, like, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to get you to agree to and tell me that, yes, I understand that's what we need to do. Instead, we're just going around in circles.
I came with a little clear coat, but I don't have enough to do the whole floor.
Yeah, that's why I was saying, like, it's just way more than I thought it was gonna be. So would it not, like, especially if there's like little parts throughout the floor. Oh, and so you
basically, to recoat, you have to sand it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you have to sand it.
I'm sorry, that part's really funny to me because I've literally been telling you that this entire time. I've literally been saying that you have to resand, you need to grind everything again, like grind it again. But now it seems like maybe it's his idea, so that's the solution.
First.
Yeah.
Like if we're recoating like the next day, the chemicals are okay to recoat the next day. But if they're not within 24 hours, you have to sand it. So all of it's going to get a little smoother anyways before the clear coat goes on.
Right. Like, you mean like the whole floor, or what are you talking about?
It, yeah.
Yeah. That's why I'm asking. Like, that's why I was saying, like, it seems like it just needs to be.
If I'm gonna.
So I just realized something, that he said the entire floor needs to be resanded because he can't put the clear coat on top, not because of the texture. So he's saying the whole floor is going to end up a little smoother anyways because he has to basically sand off that really, so basically he has to sand off that top layer of the clear coat, I guess. And you'll see later on that that doesn't happen, but now I'm figuring out why he thought it was okay to not regrind everything. He just kind of like did a light little coat of it so that he could put the clear coat on top. He wasn't actually grinding off any issues. I've just I literally just realized that right now. Which means he didn't listen to anything that I was saying about the texture problem. Like, he had already written off that that was normal and that that's how it's just gonna have to be. and, you know, he was just gonna get off enough to where he could put more clear coat on top.
Redo it. It has to be redone.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, we have now graduated to the ring light and it is now nighttime. I had to take care of my babies, so let's get back to it.
And then
That makes sense.
we'll plan on a day, because I thought like I'd come out here today and
Oh, I know.
do a couple of things, but
Yeah.
if we want to do the whole thing, like re-clear it and sand it, we need to be able to get the stuff out of here.
Yeah.
Give me a day, and then you can move back in. A day.
I'm not worried about how long it's going to take. I just want it to be done like well, so that I don't have to worry about it anymore.
You always can call me or text me.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I'm never gonna leave you.
But I know we talked about taking the baseboards off.
He said he was never gonna leave me with a floor that I didn't like, in case you didn't catch that.
Did we figure out a plan with this? Because I can't do this myself.
I went back and revisited the carpet strip thing because I was afraid that we hadn't really come to a real conclusion on that. I had to keep going back around in circles to what we were talking about because, you know, he kept veering me off of everything. I made us go back to the carpet strip thing to make sure that we had a real plan for that.
That should be easy to come off.
Okay.
The only thing is getting what kind of transition you want, because it definitely needs.
I don't care. I'm going to be really honest. I just want functional.
I mean, if you want me to go pick something up before I come out, I will.
Because, I mean, I could also have my contractor come look at it and tell me what he thinks would go well there. Before I hired you, I was like, I didn't know what I was even looking for because I just wanted it to work well. And I was like, I'll just do the plain gray slab of concrete. That's literally what I was going to do at first because I didn't really know other options. And so I was like, that's fine. I can do that, you know? So even if it was like just even if it was like the tiniest bit of pattern, would not make a difference to me as long as it's like smooth enough to be able to. I told you I'm not picky about the look. I'm more picky about the function, and that's it. You know.
See, there's a little book. Which honestly is normal, but for what you're trying to do, like I don't mind spending some extra time to make you happy.
But yeah, I just thought like, especially with there being like parts of it that are rougher than other parts, like just
yeah, we can smooth it out.
Smoothing out everything would probably be best.
That's not a problem.
Okay, cool.
So we finally came to this conclusion that he was going to smooth out everything. And by smooth out, I meant sand down to the point where there weren't rough spots, you know, snagging my mop or that we're not stepping on sharp pieces. I don't even know if I'm going to put this in the video. I'm going to be really honest with you. But so I'm going to tell this part and I don't know if I'll put it in the video or not. He was giving me random life information that really had nothing to do with the job. So he starts talking about how they have to go on vacation and there's something wrong with their car, so they have to get it fixed before they go on vacation, and that they have to get a rental car. So he starts talking about the prices of rental cars. And then when he starts talking about the prices of the rental cars and how it used to be so low, the prices used to be just so low, he says the R word. I'm gonna put the clip in, but I'm going to bleep out the R word because that is an unacceptable term. It really threw me off when he said that, and I just like kind of glossed right over it because I was so shocked that he said that. Like I couldn't believe that he just said a slur in just casual conversation. That kind of it made me extremely uncomfortable. So yeah, obviously that has nothing to do with the floor, but in my opinion, it has something to do with the customer experience. And I felt like it was incredibly unprofessional and extremely messed up that he just uses that word in everyday conversation.
Because we got such a big discount.
Yeah.
Like discounts. Like
yeah.
So we rented a SUV for $30 a day, unlimited.
So yeah, he just goes on to explain the prices and how they were so low and how expensive it is now, but he used the R word in that situation. Ableist, racist, homophobic slurs, any kind of bigoted speech is not acceptable in my home, and especially around my family. So that made me extremely uncomfortable. And I'm not gonna lie, at that point, I was not looking forward to him coming back to my house. And I just wanted to put...
Because I mean, like waiting until there's time to do this right is not an issue for me. Because I'm not gonna I'm not going to do anything in here until then anyway. So you know what I mean?
I don't want to come out here and.
I could not stress enough that I did not want this job to be rushed. I wanted to be able to do it in a time that was best, not something that we were just fitting in where he was just coming by whenever.
Spend an hour.
Yeah.
You know, like I want to come out here, do it like you want it done.
Yeah.
Be done with it. And
Yes,
be happy.
that's really my main thing is like I just want to be done. I know you want to be done with it, but I want to be done with this room.
I enjoy it.
So we decided on the 30th, that was a Wednesday, that he was going to be able to come back and redo my floors. He said that he would text me the day before to decide a time. I don't exactly know why he's texting me the day before to come up with a time. If you're scheduling an appointment with someone, and especially if it's a full day, like you're scheduling out this day to go redo their floors completely, why are you having to text me the day before to set the time? Just set the time with me so that I can plan my life. But it pretty much never went that way. So that conversation with him being at my house happened on the 18th. He was going to go on vacation, and then on the 30th, he would come and redo my floors. Said that he would text me the day before. Hey, editing Rachel here again. I know I didn't plan for any kind of intros or outros or anything because these are ridiculously long, and I didn't really know where like part 1, part 2, and things like that were going to end. I'm trying to end them at times that kind of make sense. So that's the end for part 2, because part 3 will start with basically him coming and, trying to fix the floor. I'm sorry these are so long, but there really is so much information, and this entire situation was more complicated than it needed to be. So every single thing is so much longer than it should have been. Like this meeting shouldn't have been that long, but it was. So anyway, thanks for sticking around if you're still interested and you want to see what the floor looks like after he quote unquote fixes it, and then hear about how my experience went whenever I tried to contact the warranty department. Tune into part 3. I don't know if there will be a part 4. It depends on how long part 3 is. So anyway, yep, that's it for part 2. I'll see you guys in part 3. Bye.